Welcome to today's Seidokan Saturday. And first things first, Merry Christmas. I was going to wear my red Santa Claus gi, but changed my mind. We are on the last movements of Pinan Yondan, finishing up our third kyu requirements in my dojo. The last two moves after the knee, so if I had done the kata in this direction, knee strike is I'm stepping, some will step forward, I step slightly across so that as I turn, I'm at an angle, knife hand block, knife hand block. So if I had done it in this direction, I step across at an angle. Similar to how in Anaku, we step back at an angle. It's a consistency thing. So knee, step across, knife hand in cat stance. First, a word about the cat stance. I pulled out an old Bugeisha magazine from 2022, and in it, one of the early articles that I recalled was called Look Inside, Not Outside. I'll bring this way up close to you. And about the cat stance, old school version in particular, and how and why we use it. Stances are not just kamae or postures or positions. They imply movement. A front stance implies that I have moved my body weight forward into that stance. A cat stance in the old days was flat-footed here and even a little bit more center-weighted than where we tend to sit it back and draw up the heel nowadays. The old cat stance gave rise to the Shotokan Kokutsudachi, back stance, or Tangsudo, Taekwondo, and those that use that. The cat stance in the old days was close in and under the body, and the idea was that the arch of my foot here is gripping in the ground so that as I pull up, there's an internal musculature that then lifts and allows a kick. The cat stance, in many cases, is an implied kick. There are several other things that it does. It allows us to, before we get to the actual technique, if he's attacking, and I step here, my back foot determines my distance from my opponent, not my body. So if I went to kick with this foot, with my forward foot now, I would be way back here because my back foot has determined that distance, not my body. So instead of a front stance, if I keep my body at this distance, but pull my foot in underneath, and I'm in a cat stance, I've still moved my same body distance, but now I can lift and kick with my forward foot. So the cat stance does that. Secondly, if he's kicking, I can step way back out of range and hope he comes in, or I can step slightly out of range and pull my body back. And the cat stance, again, allows me to stay in range of my opponent. So there are several things going on with nekodachi. The implied kick, the staying in close range with my body and my foot underneath, rather than being close range with my body, but long range with my foot. So on our last move in Pinan Yondan, we're 45-degree stepping, knife hand block, side stepping, knife hand block. When I teach the basic version of this, I don't always emphasize the kicks that are implied, but they are there. So, onegaishimasu. As he comes in with his attack, whether it's street punch, karate punch, we could do it off of a variety of different attacks, but again, this is just to practice my movement. We can put it on all sorts of different attacks. I'm going to slightly angle step to my nekodachi with my knife hand block. Now, as I take my next step, I'm going slightly in toward him, coming in with my next cat stance. As I bring this knee into the cat stance, he starts to get a little nervous because that is in there. From my first block, I could go 1, 2. So I'm using my stepping to make the attack. As I come in, I'm trapping, elbowing. My hands are now crossed here. As I control his head across, striking down to the neck. I can additionally, depending on what he's done with this arm, grab as I strike to the neck, because that again leaves my cat stance foot free for low inner kicking, rising knees, going into sweeps and takedowns. First, just the very basic version of the bunkai as I teach it. Block, elbow, strike. Then we can add the spice to my meatball. Hey, block, kick, step in, elbow, hit. We can go block, kick, wrap, elbow, strike, knee, sweep. Add the punch at the end to finish. The basic, cat, the additions of the knee, sweep, and additional kicks. Depending on my distance, when I make this first block, if I'm flexible, even at a close range, I can come up kicking into his. I don't really want to do that because the goal is to get into his head. If I make my kick short, that actually helps bring the head toward me as I strike, control, and return, etc. That is our last bunkai. Block, elbow trap, strike, additional implied movements that the cat stance teaches and allows us. Again, in most Okinawan dojos still, when we do cat stance walking, we're kicking using that cat stance as a platform to pull in and up, and shoot the kick forward. It's very much a common drill. That concludes our Pinan Yondan bunkai, and I believe all of our third cue requirements. Thanks for joining. Again, Merry Christmas, and until next week, as always, like, share, subscribe, ring the bell, leave a comment, and until next week, let's keep practicing.